Hey, welcome to Mineral Talks Live, the weekly live webinar that brings you in-depth and in-person interviews with the mineral people from around the world. Mineral Talks Live is brought to you by a joint effort among the Mineralogical and Geological Museum at Harvard University, the Society of Mineral Museum Professionals, and Blue Cap Productions. Tune in every Wednesday and stay connected to your mineral world. Now, broadcasting live from beautiful Honolulu, Hawaii, the land of aloha, ukuleles, and shakas, this is Mineral Talks Live. Hello and welcome to another episode of Mineral Talks Live, the weekly mineral talk show broadcasting to you live every Wednesday. I'm Bryan Swoboda of Blue Cap Productions, and I say this every week, and we mean it. We've got a great show for you today. For those of you who are tuning into our program for the first time, Mineral Talks Live is a weekly webinar put on by myself representing Blue Cap Productions, Dr. Raquel Alonso Perez representing the Mineralogical and Geological Museum at Harvard University, and Dr. Eloise Gaillou representing the Society of Mineral Museum Professionals, also known as the SMMP. Now, we try to make our program as interactive as possible for you, so let me quickly describe how you can participate in every show. At the bottom of your screen, you'll see a series of buttons. There's one button labeled Chat and another labeled Q&A. The chat feature allows you to type messages to everyone watching and participating in the show. When you first sign on, go ahead and fire off a chat message introducing yourself and telling us where you're tuning in from. We love to see where our friends are from all over the world. Now, during the interview, our guests and I will be focused on our conversation and not really looking at the chat window. However, both Raquel and Eloise will be very active in those chats, so look for their comments along with everyone else's. At times, either Raquel or Eloise may interject during the interview with questions that you're asking so we can get an immediate answer from our guests while we're still on the topic. Now, the second way to interact is with the Q&A function. This allows you to submit general questions that we'll try to answer at the end of the interview. Finally, at about 40 minutes into the program, you may see a window pop up on your screen asking a bunch of questions for our weekly poll. This is just a bit of fun where you can try to predict how our guests will answer these 5 questions that I'll ask at the end of the show. It's a bit of fun, and you'll get to know our guests a little bit better. And we usually have a prize, and this week is no different. This prize, which is going to make you want to tune in to the very, very end, our guest is making a gift of a little tourmaline piece from the Pederneiras mine in Brazil, world famous mine. So you definitely want to stay to the very end to learn how you can win that. So now with that, let's start our program. Today's guest has been one of our tentpole interviews year after year on What's Hot in Tucson. He started with the program back in 2008 and has consistently been the longest single interview we have each year on our program. And that's not only because we love him so much, which we do, but it's because he keeps pulling out killer rock after killer rock from his safe in Tucson. In fact, back in 2018, we actually ventured into his Tucson safe and found out that the city of Vail, Colorado was inside the safe. Sounds weird? Well, check out What's Hot in Tucson 2018 and see for yourself. So who are we talking about? It's none other than Daniel Trinchillo from Fine Minerals International. Hey, Daniel, how you doing today?
I'm well. How are you? And greetings to everyone who's tuning in. I'm super excited to be here. So thank you.
Well, thank you. You look fantastic. How are you doing? How's everything with, especially with the COVID-19 situation there?
It's challenging for sure. You know, we're thankfully we're blessed. All of our family and friends, everyone is COVID free and doing fine from that aspect. But from a business aspect, it's definitely much more challenging than it was before. Logistics, operations, you know, we're working in several continents around the globe, and it's not easy to do things. It was never easy, and now it's
Right.
really not easy. It's much more difficult, to say the least. But
now, have you been doing any traveling?
I just did, my travel schedule was the Tucson show this year. And then immediately after Tucson, I did a almost 3-week tour in Africa and got home on March 17th. And that was, I parked myself after that and I stayed home and quarantined for 2 weeks. And then the first travel that I did was literally just this past week. And I went to the Denver show.
Wow.
which would
How was the Denver show? On our Friday show, we did a live broadcast from the floor of the Denver show. So we saw that from kind of the dealer's perspective, but you don't typically exhibit there. Well, you do, but the show that you're typically at was canceled. You were there, I'm guessing, on a buying trip. How was that?
It was good. Actually, I was there for two reasons. I was visiting a couple of clients that I was doing private appointments for. And I was also looking for buying, and also just really wanted to see the show and what was going on and how things were now in this new climate that we have with COVID and everything. And I was pleasantly surprised. It was a good visit. It was excellent, actually. So I was happy.
Terrific. Has that shaped your perspective on, or your plans on what you're going to do with Tucson next year?
You know, my immediate question is Munich, and if we'll be able to travel there, if the restrictions will be lifted or not. It's a question mark for all of us now. And if in fact they are lifted, I'm definitely planning on going and attending, and I plan to have my booth there. If that is not possible, then certainly, obviously, my focus will turn directly to Tucson. And my Tucson vision right now is sort of the show must go on. I plan to go for sure, and my team plans to be there. What changes we're going to make to allow for us to host the show and also be COVID conscious, to allow people to visit, interact with minerals, see them, and enjoy them in a way that's safe for everyone, is something that I'm going to spend the better part of October and November dwelling on and coming up with some sort of new protocols. The most likely scenario that I see is probably that the show will go on and we will have our usual gallery at 450 Granada, but we'll do it in a way that it's private appointments only. You know, we'll be open during the day, and we'll have slots for people to come in, visit, so that the house is never overwhelmed with guests and everyone can social distance and we can, you know, clean in between. This is all just, you know, random. I haven't spent the brain power to figure it out yet exactly how we're going to do it, but it's going to be something like that, I imagine. So
fantastic. Now, Daniel, you're broadcasting from your home office there, and I can't help but have my eye constantly drawn to that painting that you have in the background. It looks like that's it actually looks like it's a Wendell Wilson piece. Can you tell me about that?
Yeah, sure. That's I'm happy to. And if you want, I can adjust the camera so you can see. I am indeed in my home office. I don't get to spend a lot of time here, unfortunately. I built this when I built the home that we're in. And I had planned out this office, which was sort of a nod to Herb Aboda's office, which was literally less than a mile from here. And it was one of the reasons I moved to this neighborhood. And it's similar style. And so I've outfitted it with, you know, I have my antiquarian book collection, my scientific instrument collection, and of course the painting you mentioned. This was painted by Wendell in 77. It's one of his oils, and it's one of his large formats. He doesn't do many big paintings anymore. Actually, I don't believe he does any that are larger than maybe 16 by 20 at the moment. And it's got a great story. I acquired it from Victor Yunt at one point, probably easily a decade ago, maybe more. And it's of a calcite. And, you know, obviously Victor has an affinity for calcite specimens, but he didn't
obsession, I would say. Obsession's
a good word, but definitely addiction, obsession, your flavor. He let it go because he had gotten to the point where he knew that Jim Gibbs owned the calcite, and Jim Gibbs knew he owned the painting, and they were sort of waiting it out. And Victor caved first and said, you know what, Jim's never going to sell me the calcite, so you can have the painting. And so then I added the painting, and now Jim and I are going at it, waiting for who's going to give it up first. Who knows? It's still a long race to go. So.
And I understand there is a betting pool in Vegas on who's going to cave first, you or Jim.
I'm not sure who's got the higher odds right now, but you know, it's you can check that out online, I'm sure.
I'm sure, no doubt. Now, Daniel, people from around the world know you for consistently providing some of the finest minerals ever seen. But turning back the clock, How did you start dealing in minerals, and how on earth did that lead to you running cabs in Moscow?
Oh, wow. Cabs in Moscow. I started collecting at about somewhere between 7 or 8 years old. I collected minerals off the street corner where I grew up in rock gardens of my neighbors. And I had one neighbor who he salted around his tree with white rock. He wanted to stand out. So he got this crushed white rock bags, and it turned out it was some sort of pegmatite mix, mostly quartz. And I found a piece in there, and I was just captivated because it had muscovite and probably what is garnets, little red flecks. And when I saw them, I thought they were rubies, and I decided I was rich when I found this piece. It was amazing. And so that started my mineral collecting. And then fast forward, my parents and I got into it together, and we started going to shows at around the age of 14. By the time I was 19, I'd been to hundreds of shows and sort of tagging along with my dad, who was building a collection. And so I was on the other side of the street there, so to speak, with, I was the buyer, not the dealer. And I was taken under the wing of all these dealers who were looking to sell their wares to my father and to my family. And so I had a good eye, and I started, I really picked up on, what minerals had an affinity for people and things that appealed, the attributes that made them special. And so I honed that. And then I met on one day a gentleman that my father actually introduced me to. His name was Ruslan Adamovsky. And Ruslan could get minerals from Russia. And so the next thing I know, I come home one day from driving a motorcycle. I'll never forget this, to my house in Whitestone. And I had my girlfriend with me. And I get off the motorcycle, and there's this guy standing there, and like all black with long black hair, and his girlfriend leaning on a car with platinum blonde hair, and she's all in black too. And it was a very strange feel. And I walked up to my dad, and he says to me, so I got a couple of things to tell you. He goes, one, you're going to get rid of that motorcycle in the next 3 days, or I'm going to break your legs for you. And I go, oh, okay.
Good for him.
And then, the second thing he said to me, he says, you see that guy over there? You're going to go with him to Moscow and to Russia to go look for minerals on your next school break. And whatever you buy, you bring back, and we'll figure it out. And I said, oh, okay, cool, great. And I said, what else? And he goes, and I wasn't kidding about the first thing I said. And I said, okay, got it. So, that was the first trip to Moscow, was 1991. And subsequently, I did about 70 trips over the course of the next 7 years. So I was going 10 times a year.
Wow.
I learned the language probably in year 3. And it just started, my brain picked up how to learn a language like a child learns a language from immersion, but now as an adult. And that served me really well in learning other languages and being able to communicate with people on their own terms. So the next step was taxi cabs, of course. Actually, it was cell phones, chicken leg quarters, and taxi cabs. So these were all
chicken leg quarters. That sounds good. Free range, I assume.
Yeah. Chicken leg quarters out of Florida, Jacksonville, Florida. We used to get them and import them. So I was seeing how the American way of life, good, bad, or ugly, was so admired in Moscow. And I'll never forget one particular experience, right, when they opened up the first McDonald's. I was driving down the street on Tverskaya Ulitsa, and I saw a queue for McDonald's, dead of winter. It was freezing outside, probably minus 15, which is typical for Moscow. And, everybody's bundled up and looking like smartly dressed. And I'm like, I look at my partner and I go, so what's going on? Are they giving food away for free? And he looks at me and goes, no, they're waiting for McDonald's. And I go, what do you mean they're waiting for McDonald's? And he goes, they're waiting to get McDonald's. And I'm like, what do you mean? It doesn't make sense to me. It didn't register.
Compute.
So
right.
It was such a sort of, such a, I don't know what the word is. It was like prestigious to get McDonald's, actually.
Sure.
And so that baffled me. And so that led me to trying to find a type of business that could work in Russia, where we could, make a good profit and do something. And so I looked into opening up franchises for other fast food chains, and it turned out that I didn't have anywhere near the amount of capital or the wherewithal to do that. But taxi cabs came about because there's this system in Russia called the Gaishnik system, and so essentially, if you just put your hand out, a car might stop, and if they're going the direction you're going, you can just negotiate with them live. And this is sort of built into their culture. And if they're going the same direction, you just agree on a small amount of money, and they'll take you and drop you off. It's kind of like a hybrid between a taxi and an Uber, and it's not, not systematic. There's no app for it. It's just literally hailing random cars. But that worked actually, and worked quite well. But we were outside a restaurant one night, my partner and I, Ruslan. It's like 1 a.m. It's freezing cold, dead of winter. For whatever reason, we didn't have a car, which I don't remember. But we waited for like 3 hours, and plenty of people stopped, but no one was going the direction we were going, or regardless how much money we offered, they didn't want to take us. And so I was like, we need to open up a taxi company. And so in 1995, we opened up a taxi company we started with 15 cars. And by 98, we had 500 cars on the road. It was called Concord Unlimited. Very interesting experience for me. I cannot explain in an interview what Moscow was like in the 90s. And for an American, and with, a taxi company with, 500 cars and 2,500 employees, it was bizarre, is the best way to explain it. But yeah, it was unfortunately short-lived. In 98, they had the crisis, and in August, that was the last time that I actually traveled. I think it was August or September of 98, the last time I went to Moscow or to Russia at all.
Sure.
So, and then all along, though, the minerals were my true passion and my real background. I never stopped buying minerals when I was going on my trips to Russia. I still buy minerals from Russia today with still many of the same contacts that I developed along the way. And, Russia was the first place I went. Colombia was really the second. Actually, no, I take that back. China was the second in 94. And then Colombia in the late 90s, in 99. And then it sort of just, it started to just be all over the world. I was traveling everywhere, Pakistan, Mexico, all kinds of places, which led to here.
Well, I mean, it's interesting in the What's Hot in Tucson interviews that we do with you. You always show such excitement when you're pulling out a new piece from Dalnogorsk, and I think it speaks back to your origins and the time that you spent in Russia.
Absolutely. Today, when I show you some minerals later, I'm going to show you a fluorite that I bought when I was 19 in St. Petersburg from a dealer named Volodya Kushinov. And I'm sure there's a gentleman watching, waiting to see it. His name is Anton, and he's
Daniel. I think we would love to see it right now, if you don't mind.
You want to see it now?
I think it's already with some color and some minerals.
All right. Well, you just got to give me a second. Hang on.
Yes. Thank you. Sorry, Bryan. I have to.
Oh, no. I think any excuse to see a mineral is a good one.
Okay, just hang on a second. Yeah, here it is. Okay.
Also, wait, we still don't have you, but you're on the way. People is really interested in knowing more about your instrument collection. Maybe a little later, you can also talk about it.
Sure, I can show you around. I've got some around the office here.
Great.
Okay, so let's see if I can show this. So it's one of these objects that's very difficult to understand in without seeing it in person, because the 3D aspect, the cube is so clear. But what makes it amazing is that it's actually grown on galena. So all of this is a galena plate that's all fully crystallized. And then you have right here this cube that's about 2.5 inches on edge, and just absolutely, I don't know if I can show you this luster, but it's like,
oh yeah, no, it's mirror bright luster on that. Incredible.
Yeah, and it's totally perfect without any, damages or and it's like optical. You can see me through there. You can see my eyeball, So, yeah. So I bought this when I was 19 in Moscow, and it went into my dad's collection. And before we did his auction back in, God, I think it was 08. Yeah, it was 08. This was one of the things he asked me or he gave me and said, you should keep this. And I said, yeah, I'm happy to do that. And so I've had that ever since. So this is a wonderful object, and one
that is fantastic.
enjoy.
I mean, you got it when you were 19. You're a little bit older than that now. So it's really stood the test of time. And despite the new things coming out, it's still it's a killer piece.
Yeah, it's one of those objects. I mean, I've had it, I'm 47 now. So it's a little while. I've had it for a couple of seconds. And yeah, I haven't seen a fluorite discovery that rivals those clear fluorites for what they are. I mean, in the clear variety, there's obviously amazing fluorites from all over the world in colors and styles, but for cubic, optical, clear, the ice cube type, Dalnogorsk holds the title there, and will always, never say will always, but for now it does. And that for me is the pinnacle of those that were found. There's two bigger ones, but that's the one with the right everything.
That's an incredible piece. Now,
thanks.
Daniel, as a dealer, you're also one of those rare dealers where you're also a producer. And over the years, we've seen some absolutely iconic pieces coming out of the Pederneiras mine in Brazil, which you own and manage and run. What's the latest on Pederneiras? Can you bring us up to speed?
Sure. So, when we took over Pederneiras and we started operating, I got involved with some different sort of strategies of how to do mining in a different way. And we brought those new strategies to what was more an artisanal platform for finding tourmaline in Brazil specifically, and in most mines around the world. And I teamed up with, Federico Pezzotta and Andrea Dini, who have influenced me considerably, and they helped share their expertise as to what the potential was for this discovery. And so we started doing core drilling, which, if you've seen my talk on the mine or read in the article that was in the MR, you'd see, what the findings were. And ultimately what we discovered was that there was an ore body that was deeper in, and that was connected to what we call the Gilo ore body, named after Gilo Armando, who was a famous collector dealer from Brazil. And Gilo had operated the mine in the first era, and then the M. Pederneiras group operated it in the second era, and I bought it from them. And we discovered through these drill cores that there was what would be the next era, and that's what we call New Gilo. I call it New Gilo because it's sort of an extension of old Gilo, and it's just deeper in and a little bit lower. And so we spent the last, we bought the mine in 15. We spent pretty much all of 15, 16, and 17 getting it ready, negotiating with the partners, getting all the legal aspects of owning, operating, and running a mine in Brazil set. And then we really started mining in late 17, actually. And the first task was to drive a tunnel. And if you pull up that photo I shared with you, I can talk about it if you like.
There we go.
Yeah. So if you look, I can identify a few things here. So that the blue that you're seeing is all of the tunnels that were excavated in the Gilo body. That was productive in the 80s and into the early 90s, and then stopped. I think it was already stopped by maybe 89 or 90. And then, or 91. The orange is actually sitting above, and you're looking at the plan view, so you're looking from the top down. And so the orange was what was worked in 1999 to 2008-ish, the last pocket they found in 06. And all the famous pieces that that you've seen produced and that I comment on or I write about in the mineralogical record article came from those series of tunnels that are in orange.
Mm-hmm.
And if you look at the lower part, you have the yellow. And the yellow is the new tunnel that we built, and that's the drift. And we were drifting down, and you'll see this in the profile view in a moment. We were drifting down and creating that tunnel, and that goes in almost 200 meters before it reaches and turns left to that red area. And that red area is a representation of the new Gilo body. And so that's what caused me to purchase the mine, is that discovery of that body. When we drilled it and we found, you know, some 20 meters of solid pegmatite crisscrossing, you know, that body, we determined that there was a whole nother vertical column that could be productive. And so it was the push that gave me the confidence to acquire the property and start to operate it. And so we did that, and it took us forever to build that tunnel, the yellow tunnel, because it's actually quite big. It's been done with an underground excavator, which is something that they've never used, and a drill rig in this type of mining in Brazil before.
Wow.
And it's, I think, 3 meters wide and 3.5 meters tall. I mean, it's big. It's a really big tunnel, but it allowed us to be prepared for where we're going in Pedernera, and that's hopefully to finding new pockets. And so if you go to the second slide, so now you can see in a profile view, you can see we're coming in on the, well, I'm pointing at it with my pen like you can see me, but we come down in the yellow. We come down in that yellow tunnel that's sort of in the top left, which is then turning, that you were seeing in the plan view. And now it turns, and you see the tunnels that are sort of shadowed in the red, and that's where we are. And so right now we are exploring this new pegmatite. It's got plenty of albite and feldspar and quartz, and it has black tourmaline, and it's a very graphic pattern of the different core zones and the border zones of the development of several stacked structures within this one big body. And we're sort of hunting in it. And we haven't found any tourmaline yet. We haven't found the pocket line yet. And it's mining. There's no guarantee. So pretty much, I'd say within the next 6 months, I'll know if 5 years of gambling and an enormous amount of energy and money are all going to pay off, or if it is going to be something that I have to scratch. And at this point, I honestly cannot say. I mean, my personality as in general in life is I'm always optimistic. So I'm definitely going to find tourmaline. But, you know, I have a modicum of a realist in me, and I know that there is a chance. So we're hoping and excited that in the next 6 months, we'll be able to share something with the world and not have to say that, you know, the journey is over at Pedernera. But at the current point, it's too premature to say, and we're on our way, and we're hoping that we're going to find something that's going to be as amazing as what has come out in the past. So fingers crossed.
Well, our fingers are absolutely crossed. I can't wait for the opportunity to film more of the Pedernera pieces. We did a film down in Pedernera talking about a lot of the old historic pockets, and I'd love to do a follow-up on that. Daniel, we're getting close to the halfway part of the show, but I don't want to get into the mineral show and tell until you can tell us a little bit about one of your more recent mining activities at the famous Eagle's Nest mine in California. So if you can kind of give us a brief, quick overview of that. The Eagle's Nest is absolutely famous for producing some of the finest crystallized gold specimens we've seen. And so we're really excited about that. Where are you on that project?
Eagle's Nest is another interesting and complicated project. We went in and bought the mine, you know, a share of the claims in the end of 18 in November. And one of the things that came along with the mine was that it was not in compliance, not with the water board, not with the County of Placer, not with the Department of Mines and Reclamation, Department of Conservation. I mean, I could just go on and on. There's a lot of agencies that had their qualms with the Eagle's Nest. And we took it over knowing that we were going to have to bring a lot of things into compliance and cure a lot of defects in the project. And so we've been doing that since we took over, which was 18, and that consumed all of 18 and most of 19 so far. I mean, the rest of 18, all of 19, and the most of 20 so far. And just August 14th, literally just a month ago, we've got the approval, or actually the rescission of the CDO, the cease and desist order that was put in effect by the Water Board of California. And so we had to meet all of these stringent criteria and do a bunch of reclamation before, which is an unusual thing. Meaning normally you do your reclamation and you pay your bond, but you do your reclamation at the end life of the mine. They were insisting on interim reclamation. And so we had to perform reclamation on a series of dumps and rebuild an entire dump number 5 in the last year and a half. And that's what we did. And so now we're in the process of, updating all the infrastructure underground to get MSHA approval. And then once we have MSHA approval, we're gonna do a drilling campaign, very much like I did at Pedernera, to understand the breadth and scope of the deposit. And then with that, then we're gonna come up with a mining plan. So I would say that, we'll be mining in Eagle's Nests for finding gold specimens sometime, maybe in the latter part of 20, meaning in the final quarter, but probably most likely not until the mid of 2021. And so that's pretty much a status quo. There's that model I think I sent you the photo of, if you want to share that, which is a brief image. Essentially you're looking there, it's kind of, this is a slide that I could talk about for a couple of hours, but essentially the red semi-horizontal layers are the quartz veins, and they are stacked more or less about 100 feet apart from one another. And the yellow veins or the yellow drops are contacts that are where they had found gold in the past. The teal color is actually the surface. It's the scan of Mosquito Ridge Road up, and then the Portal Road, and then the orangey brown is the A49 fault, which is sort of a limiting factor of where the gold is in one half of the mine and not on the other side. And we think that it is on the other side. We just think it faulted and shifted because it's a much later fault than the faults that are controlling the geology in the region. So we're pretty sure that once we do our drilling campaign onto that side, we're going to find more reserves. And so that's what we're hoping for.
Again, fingers crossed. I hope we get to see some incredible pieces that come out. Wishing you the best of luck. So many more questions I have for you, but I'm going to go ahead and ask you, you've got a couple of minerals there that you're going to share with us, don't you?
I do. I have one or two that I can share with you guys. Would you like to see a couple of nice minerals? Some of these minerals belong to me. Some of them belong to people who have entrusted them to me. So I'm not going to comment which ones are which, but I can share them all nonetheless, and I think you'll enjoy seeing them. Do you want me to go right into minerals, or should I show you an instrument and sort of like a revolution of the room, or what do you prefer?
Minerals first and then the instruments, because as a French person, I would love to see what you have behind you. But I think at this point, after seeing the pictures of the mines and the tunnels, we want to see what's in the ground as well. Thank you, Daniel. Thanks.
Okay, yeah, no problem, no problem. Okay, so the next specimen, so I'll get my next specimen, hang on. This is
here we go.
Favorite minerals, and it's something that I purchased from Mark Kilbasso. It is calcite from the Elmwood mine, and it's of a quality level that's very difficult to understand without seeing it in person. It looks like a cut jewel. The luster is startling, and it's one of the typical shards of matrix that grew in the mine. And these jewels, they call them jewels because obviously the jewel-like quality, of the calcite, they grew after. And so this is a shard that was found, and I'm getting comments in the background.
Yeah, we can see your camera vibrating.
Yeah. So this was found. I'm not sure if Mark found this himself. I've got to get in contact with him. But first, I want to say Mark is one of my favorite people in the mineral industry. He's such a good dude, and I love him and everything he does. And I'm honored to own this from his collection, and it's just spectacular. I mean, I can't say enough about this mineral.
Killer piece. Looks absolutely flawless.
It's fabulous. So there's one. And I'll move that aside. You want me to just keep going, rapid fire, sort of?
Yeah, keep going. In between showings of the minerals, I think our audience has a time to run, grab a Kleenex, and wipe the drool off their chins, which I'm sure is.
There's a lot of comments saying that they love the calcite, and the gem quality of it and the luster is just amazing. So yes, people are indeed drooling.
This is another favorite specimen I have. This one, you probably all will recognize its location, but it's the Sweet Home Mine in Alma, Colorado. Came from the era of Collector's Edge mining. I think it was at the Good Luck Pocket. So this is Good Luck, and it was found after their MR issues. So it sort of dates it into, I think, late 90s. Again, I have to look up, but it's they call it the Eye of Alma because it's the one isolated crystal on the black tetrahedrite. And I love it because of the fact, I don't know if you can see this well, trying to look, but the luster is mind-boggling. The geometry and the position of the crystal is what really draws me to the piece, is that, it's not a flat ROM or a laying ROM. It's the ROM sort of on the angle from the top down. And it has just this little tiny ROM on the side that sort of just is an accent and just balances the piece. This is one of my singularly favorite minerals on the planet. And it's absolutely perfect, pristine. It's just everything you want. I love it.
It's a killer. And Peter Lickberg is commenting. He says that it was found in September 1992. Perfect.
Good to know. I have to add that to my notes. I have a big file on provenance, but I do it so much for other minerals than any that I have reserved for myself. So I figure I'm going to be around. They're going to be around. I have time. But that's perfect. And thank you, Peter, for giving me that info.
That's a killer 3D piece sitting on that contrasting matrix. It's just exceptional.
There you go.
Okay, so now while Daniel is going to get the next mineral, I'm pulling up the image on the screen that is a James Elliott photograph of the piece that we just saw. So more drool-worthy eye candy to fill that gap. And you can see that little ROM that Daniel was talking about to the left of the main ROM right there. And just the color is absolutely exceptional. All right, let's go back to Daniel. It looks like he's in front of the camera again.
Yep. So this is Los Lamentos wolfenite from Mexico. It's a piece that's a funny story. It's an outstanding one of these. I've not seen more than one or two that are on the same level as this one. And it's a good size. It's got perfect crystals in just every direction. And it has the white matrix with, I think it's disclosite coating over the white. So it's not the snow white, but I like that aspect of it. I like the different texture and contrast that gives of both the white and it's the best way to describe it is a brownish green, but all inside and separating the caramel colored wolfenites. And this piece was featured in Playboy magazine in 1973 in May in an article about minerals. And so they had done this article and they had lots of decorator minerals in there as well, but they didn't have any real fine minerals except for this. And at the time it was much bigger. It had like a bottom like this. And if you look in the article, which I have framed in a room not so far from where I'm sitting, you can see that it's the same piece and it's pretty cool that it's there. And so it got some notoriety. And so I came about it. I don't remember where I got it. It's so long I've had it. So, but it's fabulous for what it is. And so wolfenite, one of my favorite minerals, lead minerals.
Killer piece. I mean, those caramel thick pieces of wolfenite are just absolutely fantastic against that white matrix. And again, the contrast between the main crystals and the matrix just makes that pop, similar to what we saw on the last one, on the rhodochrosite. And Daniel, I remember that article. It came back into the kind of mineral world consciousness, I want to say about 4 or 5 years ago, but I couldn't remember who had that piece. So it's good to know that now I know where it is, that it's in your capable little hands, but just absolutely fantastic piece. Lovely.
Yeah, I love that. This next object is something that I so enjoy, and it has such impact. It is one of these scolecite flowers or sprays, as you want to call it, on a matrix, and it's just absolutely crazy. I don't know if you can see it in the camera. I'm doing the best I can to show it. I don't have an assistant today, unfortunately, to film, but it's the spray itself is probably about 6.5, 7 inches in diameter, and if I hold it this way, you can sort of see it goes all the way around. And then it's just on the plate of matrix on the back, and the bottom is the stilbite. And so its position, its aesthetics is, it's an 11 on a scale of 1 to 10. And it's just absolutely
It looks
perfect.
like a ball of cotton surrounded by tiny spikes. From our view, it's amazing.
So yeah, it's a fabulous object. Fragile, but luckily it has the matrix, so it makes it easy to hold.
Fantastic. Great.
Where
great
is it
piece.
from? Can you tell us more? Daniel?
Oh, it's what's the location? It's obviously India, and
Right.
I believe it's Jalgaon. I'm not entirely sure. It's sort of one of the things that it's so it so well you forget, but
Yes.
I'll have to look it up to be
Thank you.
sure. But it's India for sure.
Well, here we've got the photo of it that James Elliott has taken, and it really really highlights the features that got a little bit washed out in the webcam view. But I think it was very important that Daniel held that up so that you could get a sense of the size of it. And also much appreciation to Daniel for actually invoking the Spinal Tap level of quality, that it's an 11 out of 10. So just look at that piece. Absolutely fantastic, and a very, very difficult piece to photograph because just everything tends to blend in, and James has done an excellent job pulling that out. Really just incredible piece. You want to touch it, but you don't dare touch it.
Absolutely. You want to touch it, but you don't dare touch it.
All right,
Here's
let's go
the
back to
next
Daniel.
So this is a bit more esoteric and a little bit more of a rarity. It's axonite from the Puiva mine in Russia, and it's sort of a nod to my history there. And it's, for me, it's the best one of these that I've seen. I've sold one to James Horner, and then there was another one, both of them that I think came from the Pelapenko collection. They were monster pieces, and they're bigger blades and everything, but the position, the composition of this piece, it's just absolutely beautiful. And it has
The
this
luster on that is crazy.
Yeah, the luster is bananas, and it's got a translucent look to it. It's very gemmy, and it has almost a lavender color. And ironically, I didn't get it myself. I bought it from a U.S. dealer, I believe, who got it. And it was once in the Cosner collection, Richard Cosner's. And it says on the back, it has his little, I don't know if we can get that there into focus or not.
No, I think it's too close and it's too small for the webcam.
It's painted on, and it has its chemical composition, the Puiva mine, the west slope of the polar Urals, and it says 1995, and it says von Teresa, Bryan, and Brett. So it's a nod to their family. And so I'm sort of honored to have this in my collection. And
Was it a bit purple, Daniel? So is it a manganese axonite? Is it a bit purple or not?
it is. It's a little bit purple. The best ones from the find have a little bit more manganese in them, and they have a hint of this lavender purple, which if you saw this in person, you could see it's got definitely has those colors in it for sure. It's not just an olivey brown. It's very pretty.
It's manganese axonite then, yeah?
Yeah.
Manganoaxonite. Yeah. Okay, thank you.
Now, Daniel, coming from the Costner collection, that would have been in one of his trademark boxes.
Yeah,
You-
I got the box. over
You have
in
the box
cabinet.
too. Fantastic. Great job.
You got to keep the box.
Absolutely. And here's a photograph of that axonite. And if you look real closely, you can see there's just a very tiny hint of lavender in there. I thought I was misseeing it when I was looking at it on my iPad. And I said, you know, it has a little tint of kind of purple in there, but it might just be the way that it's being displayed. But when Daniel confirmed that that color is indeed in there, then you can certainly see it in the photograph. Let's cut back to Daniel and Raquel. While we're at it, why don't we go ahead and launch the poll? And we may run a little bit over our allotted time here, but I don't think anyone online is going to be complaining. So, Daniel, back to you.
Okay, I'm here. And I don't, can you guys see this anymore?
Your image froze. I think you have to close the poll window on your camera.
Okay, next.
No, you have just a little arrow on the top right. Yes.
There we go.
There you
There
go.
we go.
Yes.
Okay, so here you go. This is one of my singularly favorite scepters. This is an amethyst scepter from the Gogobobaseb Mountains, found about probably about 3 years ago now. And the thing that makes it so different than the others is the proportion. You know, you find them where the bulb is large or too large, or the stem is too short or too narrow, and this just has, for the overall size, which is about 5 centimeters or so, it just has the perfect proportions one to the other. The stem tapers just ever so slightly right there, right before it then goes to the scepter part, and you can see the phantom of the purple straight up the center, and then it has all these inclusions of red. I believe it's goethite. It could be hematite. I forget which one it is. It's in there, but it's just the luster, the shape, the aesthetics. It's just one of my favorite objects. Beautiful.
I love the way the matrix was trimmed on that. It really draws attention to the scepter. Fantastic piece.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. It was on a bigger rock, and we made it just rightly proportioned for the piece.
Yep, that's perfect.
There you go.
All right, and if you look at the photograph that James took that's on my screen now, you can really see that that purple core, the zoning. You can see a hint of red in the bottom of the scepter there, and just absolutely wonderful, wonderful piece. So aesthetic. And again, look at the way that sits on that perfectly trimmed matrix, and how that the white on the bottom part of the matrix just draws the eye straight up into the scepter. Absolutely fantastic piece. All right, let's go back to Daniel.
Here you go. So the next one is dioptase from Sumeb in Namibia. And, you know, these things are infamous for being impossible to capture the color, but this is just a stunning object with crystals reaching almost up to an inch on the biggest one, and separated with a little bit of white calcite just to give enough contrast. And it's just lovely. It's a knob all the way around. It was once in Marshall Sussman's collection, and I'm not sure where it was before then, but obviously it's from the same lineage as the Great Pocket that came out, and I think that was in the 70s or something like that. Something around there. 77, maybe it was later. I'm not sure. I'm sure someone in the audience knows exactly the year it was found. by 100%. So that's one of my
Peter
favorite
didn't comment on it yet, so I don't know yet. Don't have the
Come on, Peter.
Peter,
Peter,
where are you?
Waiting. What year were they found? There you go.
Absolutely fantastic piece. Again, back up on the screen here. Here's the photograph that James has taken. Looks incredible in the photograph. You can really get an idea of the colors there, which, as Daniel said, notoriously tough to photograph that color and have it show up properly in the photograph. But I think James did a great job. One of the benefits of having Daniel show it on the screen, while you don't see the color as well as you do in this photograph, you get a sense of the 360-degree quality of the specimen that makes it such a killer piece. Okay, back to Daniel. He's back there.
I'm back again. Here with metallic minerals. So hematite is one of my favorite minerals, and this is a hematite from Schwanning it's got some, on the back, you can see it's coated up with some spessartine garnet, and in the front it has magnesite, and the luster and the sharpness of this is just outrageous. And the crystals are strangely shaped. They're, I don't know the name of the shape. They're wide at the bottom and they taper towards the top, different than most of the ones that I see from this region. So I love it. The luster and just that deep black silver metallic is always appealing. So it's one of my favorite hematites in the world.
Luster on that is absolutely crazy. The more you move it around like that, the more you're just focused on all the different facets that you see in the crystals. They're absolutely incredible.
Yeah. It's got beautiful terminations. You can see the glassy. You can shave in these.
Not even a Wilbur on it.
No, it's perfect. It's perfect. It got lucky by the concentration of the crystals are all protected by sort of a rind of matrix all the way around. So it was able to be preserved, I guess, when they were collecting it. So
And when did that come out?
Happenstance. Oh, I don't know. This has got to be 20 years old, easy, maybe more. It was not in the find. So Marshall had a find for the most part. He had the majority of that, and I bought a lot of that from him, and that was easily a decade ago. And this predates that probably another 10 or 15 years. It's an old specimen. It was once in Stuart Walensky's collection, and you probably know where he got it from. I'd have to ask, but yeah, it's fabulous. I love this thing.
Daniel, why don't we do one or two more minerals, and then we'll go on with the 5 questions. And then if we have time afterwards, if you can still hang out, maybe you can share some more minerals. But going back to the photos there's the photo that James took, and really just incredible piece. Absolutely fantastic.
Doug was asking a question about that hematite. On the back, we saw something maybe reddish, some kind of granular texture, red. Is that
it's
still hematite contact?
Garnets.
Oh, it's garnets on the back. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Okay, so then for what could be the last mineral is one of my favorite objects from China.
I think I know which this is.
This is not the tourmaline, but this is
no. Yeah, right. Go on.
This calcite is like no other calcite I've ever seen. It's got a geometry and a presence that is awe-striking is the best word. It looks like a cerussite. When you see it in person, it's super sharp and glassy, and it's 100% optically clean. I mean, it's literally like a sheet of glass.
Yeah.
And it's not small. It's probably 1.5 inches in diameter. And it has these incredible stepped faces that I'm sure you're seeing the light reflect off of. It's a natural wonder, this object. And you just don't expect to see calcite like this. And so I try to hold it from the bottom, not to transmit any heat from my hand to cause any inclusions, because, you know, they can be sensitive to thermal shock and also to keep fingerprints off. But it's fabulous. And it's like 6 inches tall. So it's got presence.
Wow. It's one of those pieces you have to see in person. You have to
see
a killer piece. Yeah.
It's fabulous. So there you have it. Those are some minerals I have to share.
All right. Let me cut back to the photograph that James took of that piece. Absolutely incredible. I mean, it just defies the imagination. It looks so great. I'm going to actually zoom in on it a little bit here as we move it around the screen. This is just a great, great, great piece. And back up. Okay, what we're going to do is we're going to go to our 5 questions now, Daniel. We've got 5 minutes left in the official show, and then maybe we can cut back later and you can show it. You can talk about some of the instruments behind you, and maybe, I mean, it looks like you have a wonderful book collection there. So let me ask you these 5 questions. Ladies, are you ready? Has everyone answered the poll?
Checking with Raquel right now. It's okay.
Yes, everything is fine.
Okay, I think Raquel was sitting there with her mouth agape, still thinking about that calcite. Okay, so Daniel, are you ready? 5 questions here. This is your just the first thought that comes to mind. There are 2 answers to every question, and we're going to see how your answers match with the viewers' answers. Okay, are you ready?
Okay. Mm-hmm.
Question number 1. American muscle car or Italian sports car?
Oh God, that's impossible. Can you ask Daniel Trinchillo 23 or Daniel Trinchillo 47?
I think we're going to have to go with the 47.
Italian sports car.
Italian sports car. Wow, I guessed that one wrong. Okay.
I gave up the muscle car. I had a 73 Mustang Mach 1 convertible for all of my adolescent life, and at some point I had to let it go.
Yeah, no. Hey, man, you're a family man. Favorite mineral locality, South America or Asia?
Right. You did the poll? I'm sorry.
No,
I'm sorry.
We're not reading the results of the poll yet. We're going to get through all the questions. So question number 2, favorite mineral locality, or I should say favorite mineral continent, South America or Asia?
South America.
South America. Wow.
I love Asia too. It's so hard, but I have a certain affinity for Padanera and Brazil, and it's so, I mean, these are all tough questions.
I know. Hey, it's the pau de queijo. You know, it's always going to be South America.
Pau de queijo, exactly.
Okay. Type of food, barbecue or seafood?
Seafood.
Seafood. Okay.
Absolutely.
Questions are going to get a little bit harder now. Better movie, Citizen Kane or Zoolander?
Ooh. Citizen Kane.
Okay. All right. Oh, I'm surprised at that, I guess. Okay. Final question. Coolest character on Happy Days, the Fonz or Chachi?
Oh, Chachi.
Chachi.
I
absolutely love it. I love it. Okay, ladies, let's go to our audience's response. Are we ready?
Because he has Raquel. And,
Question number 1, American muscle car or Italian sports car?
Okay.
Well, got it right. Italian sports car.
Fantastic. Right on. Favorite mineral locality, South America or Asia?
Yes, South America. Yes.
South America. That's 2 out of 2. Favorite food, barbecue or seafood?
Got it right again. Seafood.
Whee! Better movie, Citizen Kane or Zoolander?
Ooh, I threw everyone with Chachi.
Citizen Kane.
Citizen Kane. And that's kind of a fun question because Zoolander was the source of name of many of the Padanera pieces, correct, Daniel?
Absolutely. Zoolander was. I was going strictly for what movie I thought was probably more important historically, but Zoolander actually is one that I quote all the time and I love. I mean, blue steel is the name of one of our minerals, and it's from the look.
Yep. Okay. Final question. Coolest character in Happy Days, the Fonz or Chachi?
Well, the Fonz, so got it wrong on that one, but that's the only question that's the people got it wrong, so it's fine.
Well, I'm going to say that the viewers are the champions today. Congratulations. That's 4 out of 5, and that is a majority. So what we're going to do is I'm going to show you what you guys get a chance of winning, okay? So what we're going to do is today's gift is a small tourmaline from the Pedernera mine from South America, Brazil specifically. And as we just learned, this is Daniel's favorite mineral continent, I guess. Okay, so today's gift is first person who can email all the answers, they will win a small tourmaline from the Pedernera mine. Where do you email? You email to us here at info@mineraltalkslive.com, okay? So you've got the email now. Now let me give you the instructions, okay? Step 1, you have to visit the Find Minerals International website, findminerals.com. Once you get there, you go to step 2. Look at the services offered that they talk about on the website. Of those services offered, one of them has 5 different specimens. I'm sorry, what was that, Daniel?
Just so you know, the website address is findmineral.com, no S.
Oh, I'm sorry. Findmineral.com. So kill the S. We'll get you that Find Mineral someday, Daniel. So
I've been trying.
Of the services that they're offered, one of them is going to be a link. And if you find the 5th specimen used to illustrate that service, you have to take that name and write it down. Then we want you to go look at their gallery. In their gallery, there is going to be one specimen that looks red, white, and blue. And when you find that specimen, name the locality that that specimen is from. Email both answers to info@mineraltalkslive.com. The first one with the correct answer for both of those questions is going to win our prize for today. Now, I want you to also keep in mind that tomorrow, our episode 12 with Jolie and Ralph is going to launch live on YouTube. So tune in for that. And also next week at this time, we're going to be interviewing Jack Halpern, who is a private collector from San Francisco. Jack Halpern is 100 years old. He turned 100 this May. So Jack Halpern is going to be on our show 1 week from today. We want to thank Daniel so much for joining us in our program. And let's go to the girls and see if we have any questions that Daniel can answer. And then Daniel, if you can hang out afterwards and talk about the instruments that you have behind you and maybe some of your books, that would be wonderful. We'd greatly appreciate that.
Yeah, I'd be happy to.
All right, so we're back on track. And Ed Boom had a really good question about your mine project in Mozambique, about the Mavuco Tourmaline mine project. Can you tell us more about that? Can you share something with us?
Sure. I started in that project early in 2005 when, right when my daughter was born, actually, Madison. And shortly thereafter, literally within a month, I was on a plane in Mozambique, and for a couple of weeks or even a month straight, I think, starting to develop the project. And I spent some time in that project through until 2007, 2008. And then I exited the project and came back to it a decade later in 18. And we've been operating it since the mid of 18 and straight through to now. And we're working there, developing new systems and new techniques to take advantage of the deposit. It's a multifaceted deposit. It's an eluvial deposit, so it's not alluvial. Alluvial would mean that the materials had eroded away and then been transported some distance and then settled in an ancient riverbed or watercourse of some sort. And this is actually erosion that took place in place. So the erosion was, the surface of the earth was at such a height, and over millions of years, nearly 500 million years, this deposit has eroded down to, probably 20 kilometers lower than where it was way back when. And all of the concentration of these pegmatite dikes that have been eroded away have concentrated and formed a bed that's, anywhere from a meter to 12 meters below the surface. And they're concentrated with a variety of gems, mostly tourmaline and a little bit of aquamarine and a little bit of morganite here and there. But the primary ore is tourmaline, and that tourmaline is not all, but a large part of it is copper bearing. So that has a higher amount of copper, and that leads you to your, incredible neon blues and neon greens, and even some other rare varieties of copper tourmaline that aren't known yet and haven't been described. So we're doing some studies on that as well. And then I say it's multifaceted because it also has hard rock pegmatites exposed at the surface, and that you can do traditional hard rock underground tunneling and mining. And we did that a little bit back in 18 and into 19 a little, but we've paused that while we're optimizing and improving our systems for the alluvial exploitation. And then we're going to go back to the hard rock mining with the hopes that we find in the primary pegmatite pockets of tourmaline crystals that, that would be the dream, is to find tourmaline crystals that are Paraiba colored on matrices, like in a pocket like Pedionera, but only,
wow,
that would be something. So
Yeah,
Sure.
no guarantees, but so, yeah, and we're operating there on a daily basis. I mean, we have work going on today.
Excellent. Wow. Well, looking forward to some great finds then. So I have to okay. Oh no. So Brice Gobin is asking, how about any specimens in the I guess molybdenum mine? Is that correct, Brice? It's like
Which mine?
Brice is asking how do you have any specimens in the MO mine? So I guess it's MO mine. Does that ring any bell to you? The Mozambique mine?
Oh, MO mine.
I guess it's
No,
Mozambique, right? I guess that's exactly from what.
So far, we have no specimens from the Mozambique mine, unfortunately.
Yeah, I think that was his question. Yes.
Yeah, not
yes,
yet.
that's what he was asking. Okay.
We hope.
Not yet. So
How many different operations are you working on right now, Daniel?
Oh, well, we have 4, 5, 6, 7, or 8 actually.
And so what do you do in your spare time?
Exactly. There is no spare time, unfortunately.
Can you walk us through the 7 different
Oh my God.
mines? No, briefly, or what are the main specimens that you are mining?
The main 4 locations that I can talk about are obviously the Eagle's Nest, Pedionera in Brazil, and the Angena Bononha mine in Madagascar with Federico Pezzotta, and the Mavuku mine in Mozambique. So Mavuku, Eagle's Nest, Pedionera, and Angena Bononha. The other 4 I'm not at liberty to discuss, unfortunately.
Yeah, understood.
But they're cool projects.
See the instruments, please. Can we see the instruments? I'm dying for it for the last hour.
Yeah, sure. Let me unplug and sort of move around. So I'll go slowly. These are 3 Stowe goniometers, and this one is the smallest. They made them in different sizes. This one here is the medium one, and this is the behemoth. I mean, these are large. And then if I take you around the room, you can see a little bit of the.
Daniel, can you explain to people what a goniometer does?
A goniometer is used to identify minerals by using measuring the light and the refraction. So you'd mount a mineral specimen here, and then you'd observe it at different angles and do tests with it. I'm no scientist or mineralogist, but that's what they used to use before they had the devices that they have today. So it's, to me, what fascinates me is that they were able to build something so precise and technical that they could use at a time that, this one is probably in the 1800s. I think it's mid 1800s. We've got some reverb there. I don't know if you guys are hearing that.
A little bit, but it sounds better now.
Is it better now?
Yeah.
I'm still hearing it on my end.
Yeah, Brian, I also cannot hear you properly.
Oh, is that right?
Now you sound better, Brian.
You can hear. You sound a little muffled. I don't know if your hand is covering the microphone.
No. No, I'm holding it from the tripod.
Okay, well-
Maybe it's because of. I'll try and move slowly, and
Okay.
go over here. I'll turn that on. That's on the top there. I don't know if I've got it in the field of view, but in this cabinet over here, that's a Rosenbusch petrographic microscope, and it's one of, I believe, only like 25 known examples. It looks like a unsuspecting microscope, but it was the first petrographic microscope made. So that's a fabulous instrument. And you can see here sort of the other instruments that I have around. This is actually a kaleidoscope, one of the first kaleidoscopes ever made. I think it was, if not the first, it was, not the actual first, but of the first series. And then, I've got all.
Daniel, I'm
kinds of-
sorry. Where was the kaleidoscope? I was looking at the spines of those blue books. Oh, there it is.
Sorry.
Okay, gotcha.
There
It's
it
the
is.
red
My
one underneath.
apologies.
Gotcha.
It's hard to do this and not see what the camera is doing. So I'm guessing where you guys are looking.
Yeah.
That's great. It's a great collection. I'm really jealous of that. This is really awesome.
Thank you. There's another Wendell Wilson painting, much smaller, but Wendell has a certain talent. I don't know, can you see the painting?
Yes.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes, we can.
He has a certain talent for bringing like illumination right from his artwork. It looks like that candle is like lit. I love it.
Well, going back to that painting behind your desk, that was one of the few oil paintings that Wendell has done. So it's notable not only for its size, but also the fact that it's an oil painting. And he's one of the only, if not the only mineral artist I know of that occasionally uses oil paints to create his images.
Yeah, absolutely. He does amazing work with oil. I wish he would paint in large format still, but it's challenging for sure. And this is one of my favorite books I'll show for fun. This is, the quality of this leather is just outstanding. It's like super glassy. And, for a book that's bound in 1762 and it has all this gold filigree on the spine and it's in perfect shape. This is a treasure, and it's a Boucault's, and I'll try and show you the inside.
So this is French?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Okay.
There you can see the title page, and I sent you the title, but what makes it fantastic is the quality of the watercolors are all hand painted, and they're just outstanding quality. And it has fossils, minerals, shells, because they were all part of the same subject matter at the time. So you have everything in here. There you can see this is a famous mineral plate in the book. And if I'm not mistaken, the figure in the center was supposed to be a Proustite, this one here. I'm not sure. I'd have to look it up. But it's just a fabulous. And the condition, I don't know if you can hear the...
Oh, yes.
Yeah, it sounds
just... There's a sound when you have the right quality book for the paper that you can just you just know it's the right thing. It's like minerals or anything else. There's all little nuances and characteristics for collecting. And this is a spectacular object, and it's part of mineralogical history, which is something that also appeals to me. Obviously, the books and the instruments and sort of what brought minerals into the consciousness that ultimately ended in their appreciation for their beauty, and that is ultimately the driving factor behind everything that I do, is that chase for beautiful minerals. That's what it's all about.
Absolutely. Daniel, when you're ready to donate that book, I know of a French museum that would be very happy to receive it.
No, not
Excellent.
only the museum, but we have a great library that has been keeping archives for the last 300 years, and everything is kept in a really great conditions in this library. It's underneath the museum. It's not open to the public usually, but you can actually access it on some very specific days, and you have to take appointments to the person in charge of the archives, but it's stored next to the catacombs. So that's the underground under Paris. So it's a spectacular place to visit, and you would love it. Daniel, that's for sure.
I would love to come. I will definitely do that. It's on my list now.
Come to the museum and I'll show you the place.
I would love to.
I know that Barb Duccio was looking forward to seeing some tourmalines. Do you have any to share with us?
Sure, I could show a tourmaline if you just bear with me a moment.
I'm sure she would be very grateful. We hope to have Barb on the show one day. We try to have her on our show. She's really busy, but I'm glad that she's with us today. So hi, Barb.
Hi, Barb. Great to
We like to call her Professor Tourmaline.
I think actually she's the winner of your Pedernera tourmaline.
Did she go fast?
Really?
She was fast.
That's so cool. That's so cool.
She was everything for a tourmaline, right?
Let's see. What do I have here?
So Daniel, since it's Barbara, you could always just send her the bicolor steel if you can't think of any other Pedernera tourmaline to send her.
Pedernera to share, I could do that. So I can, you know what? I know which one I'm going to pull out. It's one that I don't show that often, and I think I had it in Munich. Hang on a second, I'll go get it. It's 4495.
Yes. Barb, stay tuned. People, stay tuned. We're going to see a beautiful tourmaline. Looking forward to that, seriously.
And for those of you who are interested, we did do a film on Pedernera, gosh, I want to say about 5-6 years ago, and that was included in a mineralogical record. If it is not up for free on Blue Cat Productions YouTube page yet, then I will make sure that we get it up there in the next couple weeks. And it's a wonderful film. We go in and we interview Daniel and some of the miners as they talk about the different pockets, pocket by pocket, while you're also seeing some video of the pieces that came out of those pockets. So it's a great kind of synopsis of all the things that makes Pedernera so fantastic. So keep an eye out for that if it's not already up. I can't remember if we uploaded it, but I'll take a look. And again, if it's not there, then we'll get it up. Okay, it looks like Daniel's back.
I'm not sure how this appears on camera because it's a bit, it needs a little bit of light, but if I'm doing this, does this look good? I can't tell at all.
Yeah, we see the color.
Yeah, we can see it up at the terminations.
So you can see if I light it from the top down. This is one from the era before the time that I worked there. It was from Gilo's era, and it's a famous piece. It was in Smale's collection, Stewart's collection, and what makes it is this. I'm trying to show it. I mean, it's probably too much light. This white albite. It's actually Clevelandite, and it's got a blue hint to it, but the quality is just unreal. I mean, it's so. It's outstanding, and it's all complete on the back. It's an amazing tourmaline.
Yeah, so. And there's not only Barb that says thanks. It's still the 150 people that are still sticking with us after an hour and 20 minutes of the show.
Well, good. I'm glad everybody likes the minerals. It's fun to share. This is one of my favorite Pedernera tourmalines. It's hard to show the blue cap. It's blown out probably with the light, but
we can see it. We can see it.
It looks like it has a hint of green in the termination. Am I saying that correctly, or is it just the lighting?
You know what? It's just the lighting. In person, it's very distinctly blue.
Okay.
I would say it's best described as blue with a hint of green, as opposed to green with a hint of blue. So.
Gotcha. Okay. All right. We're seeing it the opposite way, but thanks for that clarification. And the matrix does have a hint of blue to it. It's not just the reflection that we're getting off the screen there.
No. There's definitely a hint of blue in the specimen as well. It's clearly blue, clearly in the Cleveland. Okay. But it's something that on camera. I mean, if it's coming out on camera, that's impressive, but it's not easily discernible. But in person, it's easily discernible. I mean, absolutely. We're not talking about blue, but it's blue for what you expect in Cleveland,
Sure. Yeah.
Fabulous piece. So there's a tourmaline, Barbara. There you go.
Wait, can we take a look at the termination? Can you show the termination to the camera?
The termination from all the ones in this pocket was has a sheen to it. I don't know if you're getting that, but it's not a glassy type termination. It's sort of
it's almost like a matte or a pearl finish to it.
Yeah, like a pearlescent sort of matte termination, which is very distinctive of this pocket and of this locality. So,
which pocket was it again?
This was one pocket. I don't know the name of the pocket. It was, but it was pre my time at Pedernera. It was definitely from the era of Gilo. And it's probably noted as the best example from that era, for sure.
Okay, so George Rossman is sharing information with us. If there is a bit of blue in the albite, it's because there's a small amount of lead, like in the Amazonite, actually.
Huh,
so lead would be the source of color in the
it's lead that's the source of the color in the blue in the Clevelandite?
Yes.
Huh. And is that universal? Is that Clevelandite from also like the tourmalines from Malchan, which have a very blue albite? Are those also, is that also caused by lead traces?
We're going to ask George Rossman about it. I'm sure he's going to answer very quickly as well. George, I'm
going to put this back. Should I get anything else, or I mean, do you want one more?
Well,
sure, why not?
And Brice was asking if you could go to the room on the right of the screen.
The room on, let me put this down.
I don't know. Like, it seems that he knows your place very well.
Eloise, I think he just
one thing in our test last night, we lose reception. Yeah, in our test last night, we lose reception if we move away from where we are right now. So it might be better if we just kind of stay here.
Okay. And I think he's gone to fetch another mineral.
The closest I can get you is potentially to the vault door. So you can, and who said that? I'm going to guess Brice said that? Or?
Of course.
Of course. So there you can see there's this vault door that I had when I built the house. I had bought this before so I could specifically have this, and it's from a bank in St. Louis from around turn of the century, and it had been refinished. It's when they used to have the Hamilton, Ohio. It was just O, and you can see all the awesome bolt work. And it's still perfectly operational. Mm-hmm. And then in there is where I used to have my minerals on display, and I just haven't had time to sort of get them back on display. If I take another 2 steps, it's like 2 feet of concrete in every direction, and it's like cell phone instantly dies. So unfortunately, I can't bring you in, but that's sort of.
Well, thank you very much. Maybe Raquel, I don't know if you had something else to add, but we are over an hour and 20 minutes of the show, so I don't know, Raquel, if you had anything else on your mind. No, she's like saying no, it's okay. So thank you very much, Daniel. Thanks for all of the viewers who joined in today, and I will switch back to Bryan.
All right, Daniel. Thank you so much, brother. Really appreciate the time that you spent with us, especially the extra time. I know your time is very valuable. Thank you to all the viewers who tuned in and stayed to the very end. Congratulations to the winner, who I believe is Barbara. And once again, tune into our show next week, where we're going to have 100-year-old collector Jack Halpern. Lovely, lovely man, and just so excited that he's going to be on the show. So from all of us here at Mineral Talks Live, aloha, mahalo.
Thank you, everybody, and thanks for having me. It was an honor.
Thank you, Daniel. Amazing. Thanks.
Thank you.